Welcome to this week's episode of It's a Numbers Game, the podcast dedicated to building the MSP community and helping MSP owners become happier and wealthier. I'm your host, Adam Morris, joined by my co-host, Daniel Welling. Today, we chat with Nick O'Donovan. Nick is EMEA Director at Huntress, and in this episode, we discuss how Huntress's Neighbourhood Watch program helps MSPs with free, hands-on access to cutting-edge security tools, security strategies for simplifying cybersecurity offerings to boost client trust and upsell success, and why a layered vendor-diverse security stack can enhance protection without overwhelming your MSP operations. Just one small side note, this episode was actually recorded at the latter end of 2024, and we are only just releasing it now due to a few technical issues we had with the recording, so apologies for any references that may feel a little dated.
Thanks for joining us today, Nick.
Thank you very much for having me. Delighted to be here.
So, Nick, we've known each other for some years now, but I guess we recently reconnected the MSP show that Halo had put on at One Arcade, which anyone knows me, if there's F1 involved, I'm there and all over it. But it was really interesting to chat to you at that event and really, I guess, realise exactly what Huntress were doing. So maybe you can give us a quick update in terms of those that aren't familiar.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And likewise, great to get to meet with people in person at amazing venues like the F1 Arcade in London. So yeah, Huntress has been an organization that's been around for a number of years, close to 10 years now, born out of the US. And historically, Huntress has kind of sold globally to MSPs, mainly out of the US. And they had a really good reputation, both technically and commercially, across the MSP community. And I've done a really good job in actually landing into Europe and selling their kind of services over the last number of years. I joined the organization in November 23 as their first kind of commercial hire with the responsibility to grow out their European team. And we actually inherited about kind of 300 odd customers that have been transacting with Huntress prior to my time and the team's time here. So we had a really good base layer to go off. A lot of people in Europe using Huntress successfully across UK, Ireland and mainland Europe. And yeah, the challenge or opportunity that I was given was to come on board, put boots on the ground for Huntress across the UK and Ireland, and kind of take over the relationship that our American colleagues would have had with our European MSPs that have been on our books.
And of course, one of the evidence of that is your recent Roadshow series, which has been really well received and well attended as well.
Yeah, no, very much so. So Huntress, true to their word, has invested heavily in, obviously, international markets, both Europe and ANZ. Interestingly enough, my ANZ colleagues probably are 14 months ahead of us in regards to kind of putting boots on the ground there, which was an interesting kind of dynamic for Huntress as an organization. But yeah, since joining, we've, I think we're close to 19 staff over a kind of a 12-month period. So we've hired over all of 2024 and very much tried to be out front and center with as many kind of MSP focused events or roadshows, obviously ones that we've kicked off ourselves, but also been very involved in the kind of community. So we've done stuff with the ConnectWise Evolve peer group for all of this year, and also the network group as well. So they have about 90 to 100 members, and we've participated in their quarterly meetings over the last 12 months.
So that's another way that our paths would have crossed then. Adam and I actually met through Network Group as former MSP members, and also we have really good relationship with the ConnectWise community as well. Adam, formerly having been through now Adam, you can step in here and provide the correct name, HTG IT Nation Evolve.
Yeah.
That one.
You've got it. Yeah. It just rolls off the tongue.
Absolutely. So 19 people hired in, give or take 12 months. A lot of MSPs struggle with recruitment at the moment. I wonder what it's like if you're a vendor trying to recruit.
Well, I would probably say that a similar challenge, finding good people is always a difficult thing to do. But we've been lucky that Huntress, again, going back to the kind of the reputation that we've had as a vendor, when we put out a job advert, and we're very transparent in regards to the kind of the package, the salary, the on-target earnings that people can gain in creating a career in Huntress. That's brought a lot of talent to the table. So when we do put out jobs, we do get a lot of interest. We do have internal recruiting teams and screening teams that go through that process for us. But yeah, luckily enough, the cybersecurity space is a busy space, both from a product perspective, but also from a career perspective. A lot of people are looking either to shift into it and be kind of fully focused on cybersecurity products and tools.
Very good. So we wanted to cover, I guess, mostly commercial topics today, and we're gonna have a follow up to perhaps a more sort of in-depth technical episode in a month or so's time. But perhaps, well, one of the things that struck me that was of most interest, especially at the recent Roadshow event, was talking about how you are supporting the wider MSP community with the Neighbourhood Watch program. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I suppose probably originally best known as kind of coming to the table with one solution, which was around persistent foothold. So in other words, bad actors having a grasp on a system or a network. And ultimately that's over the years, over the kind of 8 or 9 years that Huntress has been around, that's evolved. And we actually now have 4 products that we bring to market. So we have a fully managed EDR offering around endpoint detection and response. We have a product that's similar to a certain extent, but around Microsoft 365, so identity protection. We bring a product to the table as well around security awareness and phishing solutions. And then most recently in October this year, we launched a SIEM offering, which is around kind of telemetry data from a network. Huntress, again, going back to the kind of reputation and being community-led, with any engagement that a managed service provider has with Huntress, you can spin up your own trial of our product through our website. You can obviously get hands-on with that product. You can run it for your own business and potentially trial it on customers that you support. But eventually at the end of that trial, if it was something that you needed a little bit more time to kind of consider or kind of stay close to, we have an ability to convert that trial account into what we call a Neighbourhood Watch license, which really in essence is an NFR, not for resale. But it means that the managed service provider that's gone through the process of evaluating us can stay close to our products, but also that they can protect their own business and their own environment and their own users with our products. So it's our little bit about giving back. So in other words, at no cost to a managed service provider, that business has an ability to be protected by Huntress's products and the human SOC, our 24/7 human SOC that comes with all 4 of our solutions.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Just makes it easier for MSP owners who are struggling to make decisions, right? This is just an easier decision. This just takes away a lot of the friction, doesn't it?
Yeah, no,
away the risk.
I think most managed service providers would probably describe them as kind of technical people, and they do like to get hands-on with the product. They do like to feel it. They do like to break it if they can. I think that we always hear about kind of breaking it and putting it through its paces. So either the trial or Neighbourhood Watch option that we provide, it's fully featured. It's the product as if you were a paying customer that you'll get and experience. And sometimes evaluation processes and proof of concepts can go a little bit longer than what's desired. Other projects that are maybe customer-facing projects might come up and take priority. So our feeling is if we can at least leave the customer or the partner with access to our products and having them protecting their own organization with us, hopefully it's not needed, which is we want every managed service provider to be well protected. But in the case that sometimes we do catch things that they're not aware of.
We'll come back to the podcast in a minute. But first, I just want to introduce you to the mentoring service from MSP Finance team. How long will you carry on struggling on your own, juggling cash flow, feeling like you're barely making ends meet, when the very reason you started your MSP was not just to help others master technology, but also to secure your own financial future? Or perhaps you've grown your MSP to a good size and are looking to prepare for an optimal sale or acquisition, but have never done it before. We've walked in your shoes. We're ex-MSP owners and have built our businesses from startup to exit and know exactly how it feels to be constantly firefighting or struggling to grow profit. And that's why our mentoring, or call it coaching if you prefer, exists to help you achieve the rewards you set out to achieve in the first place. More profit, more time, and the freedom to focus on what truly matters. So you're probably asking, why should we work with you? Well, we deliver results. Here are just 2 examples. A 10 million MSP with a 7-strong leadership team, but lackluster results. Within just 2 quarters of working with us, their profits began to climb. At the end of year 1, their profits will have jumped from 300k to 1.3 million. But we're not that big, I hear you say. Well, we work with smaller MSPs as well. A 400k MSP was suffering a 10% loss before we engaged with them, and were struggling to move forward for years. Again, within a 12-month period, we've turned that business around. They've got new clients, they've got their mojo back, and they made a 10% profit this year. If you'd like results like this, book a free consultation now at mspfinanceteam.com, and we'll discuss a burning issue that's been holding you back and give you several key actions to take away and implement completely free of charge with no further obligations. Don't settle for less. Make your MSP everything you dreamed it to be.
There are, of course, so many vendors now in the space that for, I imagine, not just MSPs, but end user businesses as well, can really become baffled, overwhelmed by the breadth and depth of vendors and solutions that are available. And of course, to be fair, the marketplace is fast moving. The bad actors are always doing new things. Good people need to defend and mitigate against. So perhaps, I mean, obviously, Neighbourhood Watch is a good way of providing that access, that tool, so that MSPs can, in their own time, assess and understand and learn from it. But maybe you could talk a little bit about how an MSP should really be approaching this topic overall. Adam and I would often recommend having product champions, sponsors within an organization looking at particular areas, like breaking down the stack into its parts so that you can assess and monitor and learn about the market. But talk to us a little bit about cybersecurity, if indeed that's a category. How should an MSP approach this? How should they be assessing the market and educating themselves and learning?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you make a number of very valid points. Vendors, and there's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of choice for managed service providers. I think the biggest thing that I would say when it comes to managed service providers is, although they might want the Rolls Royce of kind of products and services, unfortunately, the end user that they might support might not be able to afford that. And there's a ton of very well-known enterprise grade kind of tools that are out there. But Huntress's mission is to be a security vendor for the 99% of small to medium-sized businesses. So the biggest part that we want to bring to the table is to be affordable that a managed service provider can layer it in to their offering. That is something that the customer is possibly not falling off their chair on and choosing to opt out of a service. And ultimately, when it comes to some of our core products, we're AV agnostic on the EDR product that we have. So a lot of managed service providers will have some sort of antivirus in place, which in today's world just isn't enough anymore. And what Huntress brings to the table is that we can layer in on top of an antivirus that an end user has and be the kind of EDR and 24/7 SOC outside of that. Because again, when it comes to MSPs, most MSPs aren't operating a 24/7 shop. They don't have staff that are working weekends and into the wee hours of the morning. So ultimately, we get a lot of feedback from organizations that go down the route of Huntress, where we do have a human SOC. A part of all of our offerings is that they can sleep better at night and that they feel more comfortable that there is an organization that is watching on their behalf while they're sleeping.
And I guess the point there you make about how you don't have to make a conscious decision to change or remove something from the existing stack. This is something that can be added in, which again takes some of the friction and the risk out of, well, we know and trust that antivirus vendor. We'd like to have a SOC behind it, but then can you find a SOC provision that would work with that antivirus product, for example? And so yeah, I can sort of see how that would certainly be helpful.
And indeed, is there a benefit or an advantage to having different vendors in the whole security suite? So rather than one single vendor supplying everything, do we want the windows looked after someone else and the doors by somebody else and the guard dogs by somebody else? So what's your kind of view on that, Nick?
Yeah, well, like Huntress isn't going to be the solution that covers all aspects of security. When it comes to security, it's very much a layered approach. So we specialize within the kind of the products that we offer, and there's a lot of other things that are needed around security that we don't have within our portfolio. One thing I would probably suggest is that a lot of managed service providers take on a responsibility of either selling Microsoft licenses or products, and they're potentially looking to take advantage of the Microsoft SKU and security SKU that they have in there. The other option when it comes to people considering Huntress is that one of the only kind of antivirus providers that we integrate with is Microsoft. And that gives an MSP an opportunity also to consider potentially shifting some spend. Mm-hmm. So they may already be using Microsoft Defender, either the free version that comes with Windows operating systems, or they might be going down the route of Microsoft Defender for endpoint. And from a Huntress solution on our EDR side, we connect to both of those at no additional cost. So when an organization is trying to provide a better overall level of security, they could consider swapping out some of the historic kind of third-party antivirus providers and going down the route of Huntress and Microsoft, which we're seeing as a very common deployment rollout. Nearly 50% of our 3.5 million endpoints is deployed with that mechanism. So we see a lot of people taking advantage of having a spend with Microsoft, getting more out of Microsoft and connecting the Huntress offering to that Microsoft stack.
And of that 3.5 million endpoints, all of those are through the managed services channel, or do you have any direct clients?
So Huntress primarily is a channel first company. So I would say, and I don't know the exact figures, but I'd say 95% of our business is through managed service providers. We do have some element of engagement in the US at the moment with selling to outsourced IT or internal IT departments, but they would be over a certain size. But yeah, primarily Huntress is the channel first. And when we were brought in from a European perspective, our mission was to grow that MSP partner channel. So as I said, over the last kind of 12 months, we've probably grown from about 300 odd kind of MSPs to over 650 in the last 12 months. So there's been a huge appetite. I think ultimately us rocking up at various kind of roadshows and events and MSP kind of community-led initiatives has given us a lot of exposure to the market. And having boots on the ground shows that we're invested in this market and we're willing to put the money where our mouth is.
And very interesting, you talked about antivirus and integrating with the Microsoft Defender options. So if I'm a relatively young, new MSP, I'm going out there and to be honest, I'm probably quite tentative about it because I've not got the confidence, I've not got years of experience behind me. I guess I'm going to be wanting to go with a core set of vendors of stack items. If I've got Huntress there and I've got Microsoft, are there some other technology areas that I should be bringing along? Like you mentioned, Huntress won't do everything. So what else should I have in my portfolio if I'm designing something from scratch?
So yeah, probably a slightly more kind of technical question for one of our kind of technical guys, but like obviously there's a whole element of patching. So most organizations are going to look down the route of some RMM tool, possibly some ticketing tool that they can obviously have that kind of service desk aspect with their customers. But yeah, I would say that there's a huge opportunity for managed service providers to think how they're packaging and how they're bundling their products. And in essence, the idea is that they will want to try to sell some sort of package that's made up of other tools and applications. That might be whitelisting, it might be security awareness and phishing solutions as well. So there's a wide approach on how far they kind of want to go with the kind of customers that they have.
This probably shows how out of date I am now with what I'm about to say. The things that instantly came to my mind was some sort of email hygiene solution, some sort of perimeter security solution, and some sort of, well, either firewall and or DNS solution, really. And then I thought, hang on a minute, what else is there? There must be loads of other stuff out there, but I'm not sure what it is right now.
And phishing now has a PH as well. Yeah, no, interesting. And I guess some of the technology areas you mentioned there have also been supporting your Roadshow series. So RMM, PSA, and documentation. So yeah, I guess I was thinking more, and you probably touched on it there, things like security awareness training, having a password manager, offering, the sort of what are like the absolute basics that an MSP should be talking to their end clients about. And I guess Cyber Essentials ultimately as being the benchmark for them to be working to. So anything that supports that makeup.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think even if you think about just how busy people's lives are and how much they're on the go at the moment, security awareness training is a huge one. Humans are probably the weakest point for an organization. So educating them on the various things that they need to be aware of and actually testing them on a regular basis is a huge thing. So
and answer this question, sorry, Nick. Yeah. Do we have British voices on the training videos?
Well, I'd much prefer than Irish voices, but
are they still American?
So our security awareness training has an animation team. So it's everything that we do is around animation and storytelling. All of our episodes kind of tie in with repeatable characters. So we made an acquisition of a company called Curricula about, I would say, just over 2 years ago. And it was actually a product that we used ourselves to train the Huntress employees. And we liked it so much that we decided to acquire them and make it entirely MSP friendly. So it's a multi-tenanted solution that allows MSPs roll out what we call managed learning and managed phishing. So we can do that on behalf of the MSP and their customers. So they don't have to go in and create campaigns. Our SOC that supports all 4 of our products have a regular cadence of a learning campaign that's being executed. And we execute that on behalf of our customers on a monthly basis. And then we do 2 phishing campaigns a month as well. So a variety of one or the other will hit the inbox. And the good part of that is it's real time. Ultimately, you'll see who is performing well within those kind of learning episodes from a compliance perspective, from an insurance perspective. And there's built-in kind of notification and alerts that kind of reminders to tell people you've missed this episode or you've got 3 days to complete it. So we take care of all of that on behalf of the MSP. And there's also actually an embedded learning management system within it. So actually an MSP can create their own content. And that content might be around that MSP's organization, the staff that's in their business, how to raise a ticket, how to engage with that MSP. So even from an onboarding perspective, they can use our security awareness training module, create their own learning content and bring people through various kind of training episodes about how they engage with that MSP.
Really interesting. I don't know if this is something that gets talked about, but perhaps if one MSP creates some content, is that shareable between MSPs? So, for example, I might want to produce something about promoting the reason why the client should support the QBR, TBR process, and here's what you're going to learn, here's how it benefits your organization. Or is there a library of sort of MSP specific content that could be applied for that?
So within Curricula, it's very specific to that partner. So we have possibly about 60 learning episodes that are all around cybersecurity, kind of cybersecurity topics. Those episodes are 6 to 8 minutes long. They're bite-sized. They're optimized for mobile as well. They're interactive. So there's a number of kind of questions throughout the episodes that are being played. On the learning management system, the content is created and it's specifically to that customer. It isn't shared across community. But one thing that we do have, which is very well received, is a feedback portal. So a lot of the managed service providers that are using our products, all 4 of them, have an ability to go and interact with our product team and make suggestions on improvements, features, enhancements. And all of those are upvoted by partners. So partners can go in if there's content that they like or need or want. People can upvote on that. That's something that our product development team takes a regular look at and really does influence the direction of what we design and build.
Super, very good. As always, time seems to get the better of us when we're recording these episodes. We get deep into a chat and then realise that we've rabbited on a bit. But we'd definitely like to have you back to perhaps have a technical version of what we've covered today. And it's usually around this time in an episode that we offer our guest a shameless plug. But I kind of feel like you've already done that throughout just by talking enthusiastically about the business and what it does and how it helps MSPs. For me, the key takeaway here is the Neighbourhood Watch, the NFR. That feels like a natural first step in following this episode.
Perhaps there's literally a minute for one last question, Nick. What tip would you have for owners out there in terms of how they can improve their closure rate for upsells to their clients today on security products? What sort of conversations should they be having and how?
So one big takeaway for me is obviously a lot of people do their shopping online. So I believe that no matter what vendor that you interact with around whatever products or services that you're kind of bundling in as part of your package, I think your website has to have a very specific message around what services that you're selling to the customer and what options they have to be able to consume products and services from you. I think there's some partners that do that extremely well. And I think there's some partners that don't do it so well. So if I had one bit of advice for partners, I'd say lean on the vendors that you're engaging with, that you're spending money with. Look at what kind of products or resources they have within partner portals. Reach out to the account manager that you have that relationship with. Talk to them about how you can simplify what might be a technical product and try to simplify that messaging on your website to describe the service.
And across the account management team.
Yeah. No,
trying to, effectively upsell the service. So, but yeah, I completely agree with that. It's something that I learned, not the hard way so much, but wish I'd learned a lot earlier on around how to actually engage with suppliers properly and really work as a partner, in a partnership relationship.
Yeah, and continue to tweak it. Like ultimately take kind of draft one of it and get it up there and echo that kind of message that's within your product sheets, your PowerPoints, your sales enablement, anything that you're doing with the teams that are going to be going out speaking to end users, and just continue to kind of adapt and change that as you kind of progress down that line.
Very good. So there's a couple of tips to finish off the episode. So yeah, been a real pleasure talking to you today, and look forward to getting the next episode arranged.
No problem. And we'll see you at one of those roadshows again soon, I'm sure.
Cheers, Nick.